Good afternoon, and my name is Girish. I'm a research scholar in Davangere University Institute of Management Studies. In today's presentation, I'm talking about India's e-mobility transformation, a synthesis of consumer perception and policy realities. As I mentioned, I'm a research scholar in the Davangere University. Along with me, this article is co-authored by Dr. Shashidhar, who's the chairman and dean and professor of Institute of Management Studies at Davangere University, Tholahunase. Just a quick snapshot of the introduction of what we are covering today. The India's e-mobility transformation, a synthesis of consumer perception and policy realities. This presentation synthesizes research on India's electric two-wheeler sector, combined with primary consumer survey data and a very strong secondary research. It highlights market drivers, barriers, and policy realities, shaping adoption, offering insights into consumer perception and versus a macro level trends, which helps us to build a sustainable transportation. While it also addresses the key challenges in terms of the adaptability, which might be price, adequate infrastructure, and range anxiety. So, in terms of the affiliation, as I mentioned, I am part of the Davangere University Institute of Management Studies. Also, I am an industry practitioner. I'm a marketing professional in an automotive company, along with Dr. Shashidhar, Chairman, Dean, and Professor of Davangere University, is co-authored this article. And from an institution point of view and the region point of view, we have covered Bangalore and rural market in India for the study. A research context in the background presentation primarily revolves around the electric two-wheeler market adoption and the primary secondary data, which is robust insight with the consumer perceptions and the stakeholder understanding of rapidly transforming market for electrical mobile vehicles. Just a preview of Indian electric two-wheeler market overview. India's electric two-wheeler market is growing rapidly. At around 86% of all EV sales, it contributes only from the two-wheeler sector. And the two-wheeler mobility in electric sector, the sector aims to reduce the fossil fuel dependency, because in India, the two-wheeler dependency for daily commuting from point A to point B is very high. And people uses the two-wheeler as a mode of transportation for multiple reasons. It might be going to their offices, commuting to the colleges, or dropping their own children to the schools, or it might be a day-to-day business activities, or even a Swiggy or a Instamart or a grocery delivery partner who uses two-wheeler extensively. Market size projected expand in close to about 7 lakh 28,000 units in 2023 to nearly about 8.9 million units in 2020, projected CAGR of 53%. While government initiatives such as FAME India scheme proposes the subsidy to the two-wheeler buyers, at the same point of time, we also have a challenge of conversion in terms of adaptability and the overall pricing, overall consumer perception on the two-wheeler sector. As a result, both established manufacturers, new entrants, and the competition is introducing innovative models, trying to build a different go-to-market. But at the same point of time, the adoption at the rate which needs to be accepted is still question mark. Key market barriers, which includes a lower operating cost for electric bikes, which is INR rupees 10 for a 70 kilometer versus 1 or 2 rupees for a 1 liter of petrol. A rising environmental awareness. Barriers remain high in terms of the overall cost of adoption of the electric two-wheeler. However, also a ratio of range anxiety, and plus along with that added to the additional of infrastructure device, which is primary range in terms of overall infrastructure versus the price. Competitive landscape and market trends. Market transitioning from disruption of many startups who have started the electric two-wheeler such as Ola, Okinawa, Ampri, Ather. At the same point of time, we have legacy automakers, which is TVS, Bajaj, and the Hero Electric, who have been participating in the electric two-wheeler growth. The overall dealer network, brand trust, and multi-tier pricing is a key that is being adopted and offered to the customer. The shift necessitates new entrants to adapt strategically in a mature and competitive environment. Consumer perceptions or preferences lean towards home charging versus public fast charging or a battery swapping emerging solution. So in this study, we deal with overall detail of a primary research and a secondary data, which will help us to understand what are the triggers, what are the barriers, and what's the next level of growth that we are expecting in this particular market and the gaps. With that, with the national objectives and market projections, India aims to reduce fossil fuel dependency, mitigating urban air pollution, climatic commitments. Electric two will dominate the EV market, and the bike segment forecasted to grow about 8.9 million, with the CAGR at 53% year on year. Problem statement and the scope of study. Despite promising growth of electric two-wheeler market, several barriers impede market penetration. Key factors: high initial cost, which deter potential buyers; limited charging infrastructure creates range anxiety; additional consumer skepticism with respect to the overall challenge. The study aims to comprehensively recommend to the stakeholders with respect to the adoption of the business, to the industry, and to the government. Primary data collection and survey design. A detailed consumer survey was designed to capture the perception, usage pattern, barriers targeting urban users across various demographics. Second, data and market reports. Market reports, government publications were analyzed to complement the survey, ensuring a multidimensional understanding of the trends and policies. Analysis. Data meticulously was analyzed by using statistical tool, ensure validity and reliability, and ethical research standard was always the center of the research. Prioritizing respondent confidently, consent through the process, a commitment fosters trust in participants with the target population. With respect to the research findings and market dynamics, consumer demographic and awareness, we had survey respondents with male about 85%, age bit 46 to 60, and 52% at the primary reside tier 1 cities. Most have income range with 55% earning above 1,25,000 per monthly in INR. Awareness of electric two-wheeler brands is high, with 65% rating their knowledge as high and 88% exposed to the advertisement mostly online. However, the adoption was question mark. Adoption drivers barriers was analyzed. Mainly the barriers is the overall initial investment cost for buying a electric two-wheeler. Adequate infrastructure, which is the range anxiety. A person traveling close to about 50 to 80 kilometers in a day in a two-wheeler will always have an anxiety towards the kilometer range that it offers, and he has to stand it on the road to come back if he doesn't have a infrastructure nearby to charge the vehicle. Landscape were definitely dominated by the legacy automakers along with one or two startups which has a very strong dealer networks and brand trust which gives it adequate pricing. Consumer prefer home charging at 61%. However, the balance were always looking at public fast charging capacities at the battery swapping capacities. In terms of summary of key findings, despite the government incentive and grow awareness of the cost, limited infrastructure, range anxiety remain a formidable barriers for a prospective buyer. A transition is a critical point when the consumer trust and a practical usability must match the innovation. Legacy automakers are gaining ground by leveraging established strength. Recommendation for policymakers should adapt to target incentives like a low interest loans for a lower middle class income buyers, accelerated sanctioned charging stations installation, especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities, which predominantly uses two wheeler. Promote standards, support innovative business models like battery swapping. Recommendation to the industry stakeholders: the manufacturers must focus on total cost of the ownership and offer a diverse, affordable product portfolios. Expand service after sales network beyond major cities that will build trust. Invest in improved battery technology and user centric charging solutions to ease consumer concerns. In conclusion, the Indian electric two-wheeler market is poised for transformative growth, driven by robust policy support, which will increase the consumer awareness. However, critical challenges: the purchase price, The infrastructure range anxiety is something that the overall industry, both government as well as the industry, should focus on a strategic collaboration. The policymakers and the industry should together work to implement a comprehensive solution that not only enhance the consumer confidence but also foster an environment which is conducive to sustainable market penetration and a sustainable transport. However, this will also add to a major economical boom in terms of people earning by doing the odd jobs. It might be a delivery boy, it might be transportation, it might be commuting to the basic work standards, which will help us to grow with a sustainable mode of transportation. With this, I conclude my slide. Thank you so much. Logging off, Girish, along with Dr. Shashidhar from Indian Institute of Management Studies, Davangere. Thank you. Over to you, Mike.